What is going on, my dudes and dudettes? This is Byron here, and welcome to another episode of Byron's Bios. And tonight is the night for another movie review here in the series, as we'll be covering one of the newest movies based on a submarine simulation horror game that was released not too long ago. And not only that this was directed, written, and edited by one of the most famous YouTubers of all time, Markiplier, but he also stars in that movie as an actor portraying the main character. Now, for those of you that don't know who Markiplier is, he is one of those popular YouTubers that does gaming, and you might have seen him doing a lot of FNAF gaming over the years. But as for this movie, however, the one that he created is a sci-fi horror film, and that is Iron Lung. Now, there will not be a lot of spoilers, and there's not much to talk about regarding the plot, but like in terms of the plot, the movie is where we get this convict named Simon, played by Mark Fishbatch, aka Markiplier himself, who's forced to pilot a submarine through this desolate moon's ocean of blood. And after the Quiet Raptor destroys humanity with no further warning whatsoever, I mean, there's nothing really much to talk about this film, but I will admit, there are some things that I've recognized that I like to point out. So when it comes to the storyline of this film, it felt very eerie to watch because there was so much going on with Simon exploring the submarine and figuring out how to survive the submarine that he's in, from documenting the ocean to taking photographs of the remains from the seafloor, as well as a creature that's stalking him, and making sure that the black box data is secured while trying to reach their surface. But however, since this is the deception, then I hate to say this, but spoiler alert, it is a suicidal mission, unfortunately. Not only that, but the movie felt very slow when it comes to a lack of dialogue, as well as it being less of a sensory overload. Well, if you're into those types of movies. And there were a lot of vibes that really gave us those feelings of how eerie that the storyline actually is, as well as the story itself. However, while the genre is focused on sci-fi horror, there are no jump scares in this film, and no creepy music. So you don't have to be concerned. Though the eerie vibe is actually perfect for this movie, honestly, since, you know, it fits in the game that's based on really well. And not to mention, but he did play the game on his own channel, which I recommend checking out that video and his channel if you still aren't familiar with Markiplier's content and if you want to learn more. What really bothers me is a lack of characters that they have in the film, including the screen time that, like, every single character has, except for Simon. I think Markiplier did this on purpose because as part of the story, he's trying to heavily base the movie on the game itself, which is why that, you know, there is fate involved. The only characters we get to see that appeared physically are Ava, David, and like a handful of extras. As like they only get a very small amount, and I mean an insanely small amount of screen time. Others are just voiceovers for the voices of like each device in the submarine, which most of the other roles are just voice acting, honestly. How there's a lack of characters involved proves that everybody else in the movie is just already dead. And like, I'm talking about physical appearances. And you know what that reminds me of? I don't know about you, but remember this movie called Passengers? Well, in the movie, there are also a lack of characters that appeared physically, which there are only 3 involved. And they had a ton of screen time, if not all of them, while the other characters were just extras that were later seen in that film. But with Iron Lung, it's arguably strange to have like one character to have almost the entire screen time. Now also, there are photos of the people involved in the making of Iron Lung that appear in the credits, and if you want to watch the credits for yourself after the movie, like in the theater or like even on a streaming service, you'll know what I'm talking about. On the contrary, there is more than just strictly featuring the cool guy himself, because fun fact, Iron Lung is not distributed by any iconic studio company that's based in Hollywood. The movie was made individually, as Markiplier has his own studio business called Markiplier Studios. And if you can tell, he actually made it feel like a local film that fits perfectly for Hollywood standards. Hence why the movie made over $41 million in the box office, which is amazing for someone that was raised in Cincinnati to have his dream come true. Yeah. And I mean, even though it took him 3 years to make this film, from pre-production to post-production, I assume it's been a roller coaster for Mark and his team to get it done and out there, especially with the SAG-AFTRA strikes as the main issue that caused all the TV and movie production to be put on hold in 2023. And the production of this movie was his main priority, which explains why he did not appear in the Five Nights at Freddy's film that was released the same year as production was occurring. Way to go, Mark. Way to go, my man. I just don't even know what to say, but let's give him a big round of applause, everyone. I don't know. And finally, there's no denying on the creativity and inspiration that he had to create such a great film made by an online gamer. Not only did he produce the movie himself, but he also budgeted and self-financed the film, even though a small team was required. Even though the game that the movie is based on was not created by Markiplier, the way he handled all that production development and process himself through what they call independent production without relying on Hollywood, and yet ended up making a crap ton of money in the box office by showing it in a few thousand theaters, I have a feeling that he might become a legend for what and how he did all this and how he got his own film to succeed. Well, yeah, it's like that because most independent films are typically small, especially when you have like film festivals where you have people like the ones in college or even high school making their films. Even independently, that obviously goes to show how people like him never give up on their dreams. And that's very awesome and legendary. It's like everything in the movie was done really well. From the writing to the editing, producing, directing, acting, and storyline that's really connected to what the movie is based off of. And I think he deserves more than what critics have like given his work. Well, yeah. An 8.5 out of 10 it is. I'm just amazed by how Markiplier did this mostly himself, and like I really hope that this will give him an opportunity in financial standards to make more films from his own studio. Even though I'm sure there will be more movies in his portfolio that will likely not always feature him as an actor. Especially with him being raised in Cincinnati, and as a person who was born and raised in Cincinnati, this is exceedingly relatable because this is actual talent right here. So go check it out while you can, but if it's no longer in a theater near you, then hey, you could watch it through like either a streaming platform or like wait until it gets released on Blu-ray or DVD, even though that type of physical media is no longer the main priority in today's standards, but you know what I mean. In conclusion, I give credit to Markiplier for his hard work, and I honestly thought that Ireland is by far one of the best independent films I had ever seen in my life. But yeah, that'll do it for my review series. I really hope you all enjoyed this movie review on Ireland. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next vid. Until then, this is me, Byron, signing off. Stay tuned for the 72nd episode of What's Going On with Triple B Life. And yeah, double peace.